The stars looked peaceful that night. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his small ship, watching Jupiter's moons spin slowly in the darkness. His partner, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, was checking their equipment one more time. They had been sent to collect rock samples from Europa, one of Jupiter's ice-covered moons. "Everything looks good, Jake," Amy said, looking at her computer screen. "We should reach Europa in about 6 hours." Jake nodded and smiled. He loved these quiet missions. Just him, Amy, and the endless black space around them. Their ship, the UES Discovery, was not very big. It could hold only 4 people and had basic equipment for research, but it was their home among the stars. "Look at that," Amy pointed out the window. "I never get tired of seeing Jupiter up close." The giant planet filled half their view. Its red and orange clouds swirled in patterns that had been going on for millions of years. Jake was about to say something when their computer started beeping loudly. "What's that?" Jake asked, moving to the control panel. Amy's face went pale as she read the screen. "Jake, we're picking up something big, really big. And it's moving. Fast." Before Jake could respond, their ship shook violently. The lights flickered, and warning alarms started going off everywhere. Through the front window, they saw something that made their hearts stop. A massive ship, bigger than anything humans had ever built, was floating right in front of them. It was dark gray, with strange lights running along its sides. The ship was shaped like a long triangle, with sharp edges that seemed to cut through space itself. "Amy, are you seeing this?" Jake whispered. "I'm seeing it, but I don't believe it," she replied, her voice shaking. More ships appeared around them. 5, then 10, then 20. Each one was huge, easily the size of a small city. The ships had no windows that they could see, just smooth metal surfaces covered in symbols that looked like nothing from Earth. Suddenly, a bright blue light shot out from the largest ship. It hit the Discovery, and Jake felt his whole body tingle. With electricity, their engines stopped working. Their radio went silent. They were trapped. "Jake, I can't move the ship," Amy said, pressing buttons frantically. "Nothing is working." A deep voice filled their cabin. It spoke in perfect English, but there was something strange about it. The words sounded cold, like they came from a machine. "Small creatures in the metal box," the voice said. "You will come aboard our ship. Do not resist, or you will be destroyed." Jake looked at Amy. They both knew they had no choice. A bright light surrounded their ship, and they felt themselves being pulled toward the alien vessel. The next thing Jake knew, he was standing in a large room with walls made of the same gray metal as the ships outside. The room was filled with strange machines that hummed quietly. And standing in front of them were 3 beings that were clearly not human. The aliens were tall, maybe 7 feet high. Their skin was pale blue, and they had large heads with 4 eyes instead of 2. They wore tight black uniforms with silver symbols on the chest. When they moved, they seemed to glide rather than walk. "I am Commander Zektar," the middle alien said. His voice was the same cold one they had heard in their ship. "You are the species called humans, from the 3rd planet of this star system." "Yes," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We're from Earth. We come in peace." Commander Zektar made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was not pleasant. "Peace. Yes, small creatures always speak of peace when they are caught." Amy stepped forward. "We're just researchers. We're studying the moons of Jupiter. We didn't know anyone else was out here." "Of course you did not know," another alien said. This one was slightly smaller and had more silver symbols on his uniform. "Your species has barely learned to leave your home planet. You are like insects that have just learned to fly." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. "What do you want with us?" Commander Zektar walked around them slowly, studying them like they were animals in a zoo. We want to understand how primitive your species truly is. For cycles beyond counting, the Galactic Council has ruled this part of space. We have seen many species like yours. Most never survive long enough to leave their home worlds. Galactic Council? Amy asked. The Alliance of Advanced Civilizations. It maintains order in this galaxy, Zektar explained. We have technology your species cannot even imagine. Ships that can cross the galaxy in days. Weapons that can destroy entire planets. We have ruled for so long that we had forgotten there might be new species to discover. Jake tried to process what he was hearing. You're saying there are other alien species out there? Thousands, the smaller alien replied. The Vorthan Empire, which I represent, controls over 300 star systems. The Nexus Coalition controls even more. And there are dozens of other civilizations, all part of the Council. Commander Zektar stopped walking and faced them directly. But you humans are different. Most primitive species we find are either dead or dying. You have actually managed to build ships and leave your planet. This is ... unusual. What happens? Now? Amy asked quietly. Now we study you, Zektar said. We will learn about your technology, your biology, your culture. Then the Council will decide what to do with your species. Jake didn't like the sound of that. And if we refuse to cooperate? All three aliens made that unpleasant laughing sound again. Small creature, you do not understand. You have no choice. Your entire species is now under the protection of the Galactic Council. Your planet will be quarantined. No human ship will. Be allowed to leave your solar system without permission. You will develop under our guidance, or you will not develop at all. The room filled with that strange blue light again. Jake felt the tingling sensation return, and everything went dark. He woke up. He was back in the Discovery. Amy was unconscious beside him, but she was breathing. Their ship was floating near Earth's moon, and their radio was working again. Discovery, this is Houston Control. A voice crackled through the speakers. We've been trying to reach you for 3 days. What happened out there? Jake looked at Amy, who was starting to wake up. 3 days? It had felt like only a few hours. Houston, we ... We had some equipment problems, Jake said carefully. We're heading home now. As they flew back to Earth, Jake noticed something that made his blood run cold. There were new objects. In space around Earth, they looked like small moons, but they were perfectly round and had blinking lights. Warning beacons, just like Commander Zektar had promised. Humanity was now in a cage, and they didn't even know it yet. 3 years had passed since Jake Morrison and Amy Rodriguez returned from their encounter with the aliens. The world had changed completely, but most people on Earth still didn't know the truth. The governments of Earth had tried to keep the alien contact secret at first. But when human ships started disappearing near the edge of the solar system, and when strange objects appeared in space around Earth, the truth came out. The President of the United States, along with leaders from other countries, had to tell their people the hard facts. Humanity was trapped. Dr. Lisa Carter walked through the hidden tunnels beneath the Rocky Mountains. The tunnels had been built in secret, using mining equipment and thousands of workers who had sworn to keep quiet. Above ground, people lived their normal lives. Below ground, the best minds on Earth were working on humanity's survival. Dr. Carter. We have a problem, said Dr. Ryan Hayes, a physicist who had been working on the alien technology for 2 years. He was holding a small piece of metal that had a strange blue glow. What kind of problem? Lisa asked, stopping to look at the metal. Piece, this material, the stuff the alien ships are made of, it's not from our galaxy, Ryan explained. The atomic structure is completely different from anything we've seen before. It's like trying to understand a language that uses colors instead of letters. Lisa nodded. She had expected this. The aliens had technology that was thousands of years ahead of humans. But that didn't mean it was impossible to understand. Have you shown this to Commander Kate Williams? Lisa asked. She's in Lab 7, working on the engine parts we recovered. Ryan replied. Lisa walked deeper into the tunnels, past rooms full of scientists and engineers. Each room had a different purpose. One team was studying alien weapons. Another was trying to understand their computers. A third group was working on their communication systems. The project had started small, with just a few dozen people. But as more alien ships appeared around Earth, and as more human vessels were destroyed trying to leave the solar system, the project grew. Now there were over 10,000 people working in hidden facilities around the world. They called it the Prometheus Project, named after the Greek god who stole fire from the gods to give to humans. Lisa thought it was a perfect name. They were trying to steal the secrets of the gods of space. Commander Kate Williams was bent over a large table covered in alien machinery. She had been an engineer in the Air Force before the aliens came. Now, she was humanity's best hope for understanding alien technology. Kate, how's the progress? Lisa asked. Kate looked up, her face tired but excited. Lisa, you're not going to believe this. I think I figured out how they travel faster than light. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. Show me. Kate pointed to a small device that looked like a crystal surrounded by metal rings. This is their drive core. It doesn't use fuel like our rockets do. Instead, it bends space itself. Imagine space is like a piece of paper. Instead of traveling across the paper, they fold it so two distant points touch each other. That's impossible, Lisa said, but she was smiling. That's what I thought too, Kate replied. But look at this. She pressed a button, and the crystal began to glow. The air around it seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. It's actually bending space in this room, Kate continued. Just a tiny bit, but it's proof that the theory works. If we can make a bigger version, we might be able to build ships that can travel as fast as theirs. Lisa felt hope for the first time in months. How long do you think it will take? With our current resources? Maybe 10 years, Kate said. But Lisa, there's something else. Something that might be even more important. Kate led Lisa to another table, this one covered with charts and diagrams. I've been studying the alien ships that patrol our solar system. They're big, but they're not that well defended. Their weapons are powerful, but they're designed to fight other aliens, not humans. What do you mean? Their shields are made to stop energy weapons and small projectiles, Kate explained. But they're not designed to stop really big things. Like really, really big things. Lisa looked at the charts more carefully. You're thinking of building bigger ships. Not bigger ships, Kate said with a grin. Bigger weapons. Lisa, what? If we didn't try to build ships that could fight the aliens in space? What if we built weapons so big that they couldn't ignore us? Before Lisa could respond, alarms started ringing throughout the facility. A voice came over the speaker system. All personnel to stations. We have incoming signals from the surface. Lisa. And Kate ran to the command center, where dozens of people were watching screens and listening to radio signals. Sergeant Danny Kim, who had been monitoring alien communications, was standing at the main console. What's happening, Danny? Lisa asked. The aliens are moving, Danny replied. 3 of their big ships just left Earth orbit. They're heading toward Mars. On the main screen, they could see the alien ships through telescopes. Each ship was about 5 miles long, dark gray, with those strange symbols glowing along their sides. Dr. Carter, another technician, called out, We're getting reports from our teams in South America and Asia. They're seeing the same thing. The aliens are moving ships all over the solar system. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Are they planning to attack Earth? I don't think so, Danny said, adjusting his equipment. I've been listening to their communications. They're talking about a routine inspection of the quarantine zone. Routine inspection? Kate asked. They do this every few months, Danny explained. They send ships to check that we're not trying to leave the solar system. They scan our technology to make sure we're not advancing too fast. It's like they're treating us like animals in a zoo. Lisa felt anger building in her chest. 3 years ago, humans had been free to explore space. Now they were prisoners in their own solar system, being checked on by alien guards. Danny, are you still picking up signals from Captain Morrison? Lisa asked. Yes, ma'am. He's leading a team of pilots who are hiding in the asteroid belt. They've been mapping the alien patrol routes. Captain Jake Morrison had become one of the leaders of the resistance after his encounter with Commander Zektar. He and Amy Rodriguez had been working with small teams of brave pilots, using modified ships to spy on the aliens without being detected. Get me a connection to Morrison, Lisa ordered. A few minutes later, Jake's voice crackled through the speakers. Dr. Carter, we can see the alien ships from here. They're doing their usual patrol pattern. Jake, how long do we have before they finish their inspection? About 6 hours, based on previous patterns. But Lisa, there's something different this time. They're bringing more ships than usual, and they're scanning more carefully. Lisa exchanged a worried look with Kate. Do you think they suspect something? I don't know, Jake replied, but we need to be ready for anything. How's the project going down there? Lisa looked around the command center at all the people working frantically at their stations. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and civilians, all working together for humanity's survival. We're making progress, Jake, she said. But we need more time. Time is something we might not have much of, Jake replied. The aliens are getting suspicious. Yesterday, Amy intercepted a communication between 2 of their ships. They were talking about conducting a deeper evaluation of human development. Lisa felt her heart sink. A deeper evaluation could mean the aliens would discover the hidden facilities. It could mean the end of the Prometheus project. Jake, I need you and your team to keep monitoring them. If they start heading toward any of our facilities, we need to know immediately. Understood, Dr. Carter. We'll keep watching. The connection ended, and Lisa turned to address the entire command center. Everyone, listen carefully. We may have less time than we thought. I need all teams to double their efforts. Kate, I want you to focus on the space-bending technology. Ryan, keep working on understanding their materials. Danny, don't stop monitoring their communications. Dr. Carter, Kate said quietly, what if we can't crack their technology in time? Lisa looked at her friend and colleague. Then we'll have to find another way. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We've always found a way to adapt when our backs are against the wall. But we've never faced anything like this before, Kate replied. Lisa smiled grimly. No, we haven't. But the aliens made one mistake. They gave us time to think, to plan, and to prepare. They think we're just primitive creatures who can't threaten them. They're about to learn that the most dangerous animal is the one that's been cornered. As the alarms continued to ring and the alien ships patrolled overhead, the people in the Ozone underground facility continued their work. They were humanity's secret weapon, and they were going to make sure that the aliens regretted underestimating the human race. 5 years had passed since the aliens first trapped humanity in their own solar system. Admiral Susan Blake stood on what looked like the bridge of a starship, but this was no ordinary vessel. The room was massive, with a ceiling that stretched. Up so high it disappeared into darkness. The walls were covered with screens, showing views of space that seemed impossible. "Admiral, all systems are ready," reported Communications Officer Ben Foster. He was sitting at a control station that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of black stone. Susan looked out the main window and saw something that still amazed her, even after 2 years of construction. They were not in space. They were deep inside the Earth itself, in a hollow chamber that had been carved out of solid rock 8,000 miles below the surface. "Ben, give me a status report on the other sites," Susan ordered. "The Pacific Titan is fully operational," Ben replied, reading from his screens. "The Atlantic Fortress reports all weapon systems are online. Both ships are ready for launch." Susan nodded. The 3 ships were the result of Dr. Lisa Carter's incredible plan. When the alien technology proved too difficult to copy quickly, Lisa had come up with a different idea. Instead of trying to build ships that could fight the aliens in space, they would turn the Earth itself into a weapon. "Admiral, we're getting a signal from Dr. Carter," said another officer. Dr. Lisa Carter appeared on the main screen. She was in the control room on the surface, coordinating the final preparations. Behind her, Susan could see hundreds of people working at computers and monitoring equipment. "Susan, the alien patrol fleet has entered the solar system," Lisa reported. "They're following their usual pattern. They should reach Earth orbit in about 4 hours. Are we ready for this?" Susan asked. Lisa smiled, but her eyes were serious. "We've been ready for months. The question is whether our plan will work." Susan understood Lisa's concern. What they were about to do had never been tried before. It was so ambitious that even the people building it sometimes couldn't believe it was real. The plan was simple in concept, but incredible in execution. Instead of building spaceships to fight the aliens, they had built 3 ships inside the Earth itself. Each ship was the size of a small continent, powered by the Earth's own heat and magnetic field. "Colonel Brooks, are your Marines ready?" Susan asked. Colonel Tyler Brooks stepped forward. He was a large man with scars on his face from the early fighting with alien scouts. "Yes, Admiral. We have 50,000 fighters ready to launch. Each one is equipped with weapons that use the alien technology we've been able to copy." Susan looked at the screens showing the fighter bays. Thousands of small ships were lined up in tunnels that had been carved through the Earth's crust. Each fighter was piloted by volunteers who had trained for years for this moment. "Admiral, I'm picking up the alien fleet on long-range sensors," reported the sensor officer. 12 ships, just like always. "They're big, but not as big as us." Susan felt a mixture of excitement and terror. The alien ships were each about 5 miles long and 2 miles wide. They were massive by human standards. But the ships humanity had built were 8,000 miles across. Each one was literally the size of a planet. "How did we manage to hide something this big?" Ben asked, echoing the question everyone had wondered about. "We didn't hide it," Susan replied. "We disguised it. From space, the Earth looks exactly the same as it always has. The alien sensors can't detect what we've built because it's inside the planet itself." The construction had been the greatest engineering project in human history. Using mining equipment and techniques learned from studying alien technology, they had hollowed out 3 enormous chambers inside the Earth. The chambers were connected by tunnels that ran through the planet's core. "Admiral, we're ready to begin." "Phase 1, reported the engineering officer. Susan took a deep breath. "All stations, this is Admiral Blake. Today, we take back our freedom. Today, we show the aliens what happens when you trap humans in a corner." She pressed a button on her chair, and the entire ship began to vibrate. Deep beneath them, massive engines that had been built into the Earth's core began to fire. "Beginning separation sequence," announced the computer in a calm voice. On the Screens. Susan watched as the Earth's surface began to crack. But these were not random cracks. They were precise cuts that had been planned for years. The cracks formed perfect circles, each one 8,000 miles across. "My God," whispered Ben Foster, "we're actually doing it." The three ships began to rise from the Earth's surface. Each one looked like a small moon breaking free from the planet. The Pacific Titan rose from the Pacific Ocean, steam and water pouring off its sides. The Atlantic Fortress lifted from the Atlantic Ocean, its massive bulk blocking out the sun. And the ship Susan commanded, the USS Leviathan, rose from the North American continent. "Admiral, the alien fleet is changing course," reported the sensor officer. "They're heading straight for us." Susan smiled grimly. "I bet they are. They've never seen anything like this before." On the main screen, they could see the alien ships approaching. Commander Zektar's fleet looked tiny compared to the 3 planetary warships that were now floating in space around Earth. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," Ben reported. "Put it on the main screen," Susan ordered. Commander Zektar's face appeared on the screen. His 4 eyes were wide with shock, and his blue skin had turned pale. What are you?" he asked in a voice that no longer sounded cold and confident. "We are humans," Susan replied calmly. "The same primitive creatures you've been keeping in a cage for 5 years." "This is impossible," Zektar said. "Your species barely knows how to build simple spacecraft. You cannot have constructed vessels of this size." "You're right," Susan agreed. "We couldn't build spaceships that could fight you. So we built something better. We turned our planet into a weapon." Behind Zektar, Susan could see other aliens running around in panic. Their ship's computers were probably trying to analyze the 3 massive vessels and failing to understand what they were seeing. "Admiral, they're powering up their weapons," reported the tactical officer. Susan nodded. "Colonel Brooks, launch. All fighters. Let's show them what we can do." From bays that had been carved into the surface of the 3 planetary ships, thousands of human fighters began to pour out. Each fighter was small compared to the alien ships, but there were so many of them that they looked like swarms of angry bees. "Admiral, the alien fleet is firing," announced the tactical officer. The alien weapons hit the USS Leviathan's shields. The energy beams were incredibly powerful, enough to destroy a normal spaceship in seconds. But the Leviathan's shields were powered by the Earth's own magnetic field. The alien weapons barely made them flicker. "Our turn," Susan said quietly. "Target the lead alien ship. Fire 1 warning shot." The USS Leviathan's main weapon was a cannon that was 300 miles long. It was powered by controlled fusion, reactors that made the sun look dim. When it fired, space itself seemed to bend around the energy beam. The beam hit the lead alien ship and simply erased it from existence. One moment it was there, the next moment there was nothing but empty space and a few glowing particles. "Admiral, the remaining alien ships are retreating," reported the sensor officer. "Let them go," Susan ordered. "We want them to carry the message back to their council." On the screen, Commander Zektar's face was frozen in shock. You destroyed an entire ship with 1 shot. "That was a warning," Susan replied. "The next shots won't be warnings. You have kept humanity trapped in our own solar system for 5 years. You treated us like animals in a zoo. That ends now. The Galactic Council will not allow this," Zektar said, but his voice was shaking. "The Galactic Council can try to stop us," Susan said, "but they should know that we've just begun. We have 3 ships now. Tomorrow we might have 10. Next year we might have 100. Every planet in this galaxy can become a weapon if we choose to make it one." The alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, fleeing as fast as they could travel. "Admiral, "We're getting signals from all over Earth," Ben reported. "People are celebrating in the streets. The whole world is watching." Susan looked at the screens showing Earth below them. The planet looked different now, with 3 massive holes where the ships had been, but it was still home, and now it was free. "Dr. Carter, this is Admiral Blake," Susan said into her communications device. "Susan, I'm watching from the surface." Lisa replied, "It's incredible. The whole world can see the ships in space." "The hard part is just beginning," Susan said. "The aliens will be back, and they'll bring more ships next time." "Let them come," Lisa replied. "We'll be ready." Susan looked at her crew, all of them working calmly at their stations. These people had volunteered to live inside the Earth for years, working in secret to build humanity's greatest weapon. "Colonel Brooks, begin Phase 2, Susan ordered. "I want every military facility on Earth to start construction of the next generation of ships. And I want our fighters to begin scouting missions beyond the solar system." "Yes, Admiral," Brooks replied with a green dot as the 3 planetary warships took their positions around Earth. Susan felt a mixture of pride and determination. The aliens had made a terrible mistake when they trapped humanity. They had given humans time to think, to plan, and to build. The news spread through the galaxy faster than light itself. Commander Zektar's surviving ships had reached the nearest Galactic Council station, and the reports they brought seemed impossible to believe. "The humans have built ships the size of planets," Zektar reported to the emergency session of the Council. His voice was still shaking from what he had witnessed. "They destroyed an entire fleet with a single shot." High Admiral Quindal of the Nexus Coalition leaned forward in his chair. He was a tall, thin alien with silver skin and 6 arms. "Commander, your report must be wrong. No species has ever built vessels of planetary size. The energy requirements alone would be impossible." "I know what I saw," Sektar replied. "The humans turned their planet into a weapon. They have 3 ships, each one 8,000 miles across. Their weapons can destroy our largest vessels in seconds." The Council chamber fell silent. Representatives from dozens of alien species looked at each other in disbelief. The Galactic Council had ruled for over 10,000 years. They had advanced technology, massive fleets, and the combined military power of hundreds of civilizations. "Show U.S. the recordings," demanded General Vexcar of the Hegemony, a race of insect-like aliens. Zektar activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. The other council members watched in horror as the human ships rose from Earth's surface like 3 small moons. They saw the incredible size of the vessels, the swarms of fighters pouring from their bays, and the devastating power of their weapons. "This changes everything," whispered Ambassador Yintal of the Confederation. She was one of the oldest members of the Council, and her species had been among the first to join the Galactic Alliance. "We must act quickly," High Admiral Quindal said. "If the humans are allowed to expand beyond their solar system, they could threaten our entire civilization. What do you propose?" Asked Zektar. "We assemble the greatest fleet in galactic history." Quindal replied, "Every major civilization contributes their best ships. We overwhelm the humans with pure numbers." General Vexcar nodded his insect head. "The Hegemony can provide 500 battle cruisers. Each one is armed with planet-cracking weapons. The Confederation will send 300 dreadnoughts." Ambassador Yintal added. One by one, the council members pledged their ships to the cause. Within hours, they had assembled a fleet of over 2,000 vessels, the largest military force in galactic history. Meanwhile, in the human solar system, Captain Jake Morrison was leading a scouting mission beyond the quarantine zone. His ship, a modified fighter equipped with alien stealth technology, was invisible to most sensors. Amy, are you picking up anything? Jake asked his co-dash pilot. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was monitoring the long-range sensors. Jake, you're not going to believe this. I'm detecting a massive fleet gathering near Alpha Centauri. There must be hundreds of ships. Jake felt his blood run cold. They're planning to attack Earth. It's worse than that, Amy replied. These aren't just Vorthan ships. I'm seeing vessel designs from at least a dozen different species. They've called in the entire Galactic Council. Jake immediately opened a communication channel to Earth. Admiral Blake, this is Captain Morrison. We have a problem. Back on the USS Leviathan, Admiral Susan Blake was meeting with her senior staff when Jake's message came through. What kind of problem, Captain? The aliens are assembling a massive fleet, Jake reported. Over 2,000 ships, according to our sensors. They're planning to attack Earth with everything they have. Susan felt a chill run down her spine. The human fleet consisted of 3 planetary ships and about 50,000 fighters. Against 2,000 enemy vessels, the odds were not good. Jake, how long do we have? Susan asked. Based on their current position and the speed of their ships, maybe 3 days, Jake replied. Susan looked at her officers. Colonel Tyler Brooks stepped forward. Admiral, we knew this would happen eventually. The aliens can't let us go unpunished. Dr. Carter, are you listening to this? Susan asked. Dr. Lisa Carter's voice came through the communication system. I'm here, Susan. I've been monitoring the alien fleet through our deep space sensors. Lisa, can we handle 2,000 ships? There was a pause before Lisa replied. Our ships are incredibly powerful, but we're outnumbered almost 700 to 1. We need to be smart about this. Susan made a decision. Colonel Brooks, I want every fighter pilot on high alert. Dr. Carter, is there any way to increase our firepower? Actually, there is, Lisa replied. We've been working on a new weapon system. It's not ready for full deployment, but we might be able to use it in an emergency. What kind of weapon? Susan asked. Remember how we built our ships inside the Earth? Lisa explained. We've been working on a way to turn asteroids and small moons into weapons. If we can get close enough to the alien fleet, we might be able to surprise them. Susan nodded. Do it. How long do you need? Give me 48 hours, Lisa replied. Over the next 2 days, the human fleet prepared for the greatest battle in their history. The 3 planetary ships took positions around Earth, their massive weapons charging. Thousands of fighters were armed and ready for launch. Captain Morrison and his scouting team continued to monitor the alien fleet. Admiral, they're on the move, Jake reported. The entire fleet is heading for Earth. They'll be here in 6 hours. Susan felt her heart pounding. All stations, this is Admiral Blake. Today, we fight for the freedom of humanity. Today, we show the galaxy that humans will not be caged. The alien fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like a cloud of metal and death. 2,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of alien technology, armed with weapons that could destroy planets. High Admiral Quindle stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive vessel that was 5 miles long and bristling with energy cannons. Open a channel to the human fleet, he ordered. Admiral Blake's face appeared on the screen. This is Admiral Susan Blake of the Terran Federation. You are trespassing in human space. I am High Admiral Quindle of the Galactic Council, the alien replied. You will surrender immediately, or we will destroy your planet. We don't surrender, Susan replied calmly. We fight. You have 3 ships, Quindle said. We have 2,000. Your defeat is certain, Susan smiled. You're right. You do have more ships. But you made the same mistake you made 5 years ago. You underestimated humans. Before Quindle could respond, the space around his fleet began to change. What had looked like empty space suddenly filled with massive objects. Asteroids that had been fitted with engines and weapons, small moons that had been turned into mobile, fortresses, and debris that had been converted into guided missiles. "What is this?" Quindle demanded. "This is what humans do when you give us time to prepare," Susan replied. "We turn everything into a weapon." The battle began with a fury that shook the entire solar system. The alien fleet fired their weapons, energy beams that could melt mountains. But the human defenders were ready. The 3 planetary ships returned fire with weapons that made the alien guns look like toys. Captain Morrison led, his fighter wing into the heart of the alien fleet. "Remember your training," he broadcast to his pilots. "We're smaller and faster than they are. Use that advantage." The human fighters swarmed through the alien formation like angry wasps. Their small size made them hard to hit, and their weapons had been upgraded with alien technology. Each fighter could destroy ships 10 times its size. "Amy, target that cruiser on our left," Jake called out as he dodged energy beams from 3 different alien ships. "Got it," Amy replied, firing their main weapon. The alien cruiser exploded in a ball of fire, but the aliens were fighting back. Hard. Their ships were powerful, and they had experience from thousands of battles across the galaxy. Human fighters began to fall, their pilots dying bravely as they tried to protect their home. "Admiral, we're losing too many fighters," Colonel Brooks reported. "The aliens are adapting to our tactics." Susan watched the battle on her screens. The 3 human planetary ships were holding their own, but the smaller vessels were taking heavy losses. They needed something to change the tide of battle. "Dr. Carter, is the new weapon ready?" Susan asked. "Almost," Lisa replied from the surface. "Just give me 5 more minutes." Those 5 minutes felt like hours. Human fighters continued to fall, and several of the converted asteroids were destroyed by concentrated alien fire. The alien fleet was slowly pushing toward Earth. "Admiral, the alien flagship is moving toward us," reported the tactical officer. "Hi." Admiral Quindle's ship was 3 times larger than any other vessel in his fleet. Its weapons were charging for what looked like a killing blow against the USS Leviathan. "Fire all weapons," Susan ordered. The Leviathan's massive cannons fired simultaneously. The energy beams hit Quindle's ship and ... bounced off. The alien flagship had shields that could absorb even planetary-level weapons. "Impossible," whispered Ben Foster. "Dr. Carter, we need that weapon now," Susan said urgently. "It's ready," Lisa replied. "Susan, remember when we talked about turning planets into weapons? Well, we just finished turning the moon into the biggest gun in the solar system." On the screens, everyone could see the moon beginning to glow. The entire satellite had been hollowed out and filled with a weapon that used the combined power of Earth's magnetic field and the sun's energy. All ships get clear of the fur. 18 months had passed since the great battle that changed the galaxy forever. Admiral Susan Blake stood in what used to be the Galactic Council chambers, but now the room looked very different. The old alien symbols had been replaced with human writing, and the curved alien furniture had been changed to fit human bodies. Outside the massive windows, 3 planetary-sized human warships floated in space around the former Council world. Their presence alone was enough to keep peace. In this part of the galaxy, "Admiral Blake," said Ambassador Chun, humanity's new representative to the galactic community. "The delegates from the Nexus Coalition are here to see you." Susan nodded. "Send them in." The doors opened, and High Admiral Quindle entered the room. The proud alien who had once commanded 2,000 ships now looked tired and defeated. Behind him walked several other alien representatives, all of them former members of the Galactic Council. "Admiral Blake," Quindle said, his voice much quieter than it had been during the battle. "We come to discuss the terms of..." cooperation between our peoples. Susan gestured to chairs around a large table. Please, sit down. We have much to talk about. As the aliens took their seats, Susan couldn't help but remember how different things had been just 2 years ago. Back then, humans were trapped in their own solar system, treated like animals in a zoo. Now, they controlled the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. Before we begin, Susan said, I want to make something clear. Humanity is not interested in ruling the galaxy the way the Council did. We don't want to be your masters. Then what do you want? Asked Ambassador Yintal, the elderly alien who had been part of the Council for centuries. We want respect, Susan replied. We want the freedom to explore and expand without being told we're too primitive. And we want to make sure that no species ever again gets trapped the way we were. Quindle leaned forward. The Nexus Coalition controls over 400 star systems. Our people have lived in peace for thousands of years. What happens to them now? They continue to live in peace, Susan answered. As long as they don't threaten other species, humanity has no quarrel with them. But what about our military? Asked General Vexcar, the insect-like alien. Our fleets? Susan smiled. Your fleets are welcome to exist, as long as they follow the new rules. No more quarantining primitive species. No more treating developing civilizations like property. Every species has the right to grow and explore at their own pace. The aliens looked at each other nervously. The old Galactic Council had been built on the idea that advanced species should control primitive ones. Now humans were saying that all species should be free. Admiral, Quindle said carefully, how do we know that humanity won't abuse this power? You have weapons that can destroy entire fleets. What stops you from becoming the same kind of rulers the Council was? Susan had expected this question. Because we remember what it felt like to be trapped. We remember what it was like to be treated as inferiors. We won't do that to others. Ambassador Chun stepped forward with a data pad. We've prepared a document that outlines humanity's vision for galactic governance. It's based on principles of freedom, respect, and cooperation. As the aliens read the document, Susan watched their faces. The new system was simple. Species would be free to develop as they chose. Trade would be open to all, and conflicts would be resolved through negotiation rather than force. Military action would only be used against species that attacked others. This is very different from how things have been done, Ambassador Yintal said slowly. Good, Susan replied. The old way didn't work. It created fear and resentment. The new way will create cooperation and peace. A communication signal interrupted the meeting. Captain Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. He was calling from the bridge of the Pacific Titan, one of the 3 planetary warships. Admiral, we have a situation in the Outer Rim, Jake reported. A species called the Korthax has been attacking trade ships. They're claiming that the new galactic order doesn't apply to them. Susan sighed. There were always species that thought they could take advantage of change and chaos. Jake, take a fleet to the Outer Rim. Show them what happens to species that attack innocent traders. Understood. Admiral, Jake replied. Should we destroy their entire military? No, Susan said firmly. Disable their ships and capture their leaders. We'll give them a choice. Follow the new rules or lose their ability to travel between stars. The alien delegates watched this exchange with interest. They had expected humans to be just as brutal as the old Council. Instead, they were seeing a species that preferred justice to destruction. Admiral Blake, Quindle said after Jake's transmission ended, the Korthax have been a problem for centuries. The Council could never control them because they hide in asteroid fields and use hit-and-run tactics. Then they haven't met human tactics, Susan replied with a grin. Captain Morrison is very good at finding hidden enemies. Over the next few hours, Susan and the alien delegates worked out the details of the new galactic government. Instead of a council of advanced species ruling over primitive ones, there would be a federation where all species had a voice. Disputes would be settled by neutral judges, and every civilization would have the right to defend itself. There is one question that concerns us all, Ambassador Yintel said near the end of the meeting. What happens if humanity decides to expand aggressively? Your ships are powerful enough to conquer any world you choose. Susan stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the 3 planetary warships. Each ship was a mobile world, carrying millions of humans and enough weapons to crack planets in half. You're right, she said. We could conquer any world we want. But that's not what we want. Do you know what humanity really desires? The aliens shook their heads. We want to explore, Susan continued. We want to see what's beyond the next star, what's on the other side of the galaxy. We want to meet new species and learn new things. Conquest is for species that are afraid. We're not afraid anymore. As if to prove her point, another communication came in. This time it was from Dr. Lisa Carter, who is leading humanity's new exploration program. Susan, we've made contact with a species beyond the galactic rim, Lisa reported excitedly. They call themselves the Wanderers, and they've been traveling between galaxies for millions of years. They want to share their knowledge with us. Susan felt her heart race with excitement. This was what humanity was meant for: exploration, discovery, learning. Not sitting on a throne ruling over others. Dr. Carter, prepare an expedition, Susan ordered. I want our best explorers ready to travel to the next galaxy. After the communication ended, Susan turned back to the alien delegates. That's what humanity wants. Not your worlds, not your resources. We want to go places no one has ever been before. High Admiral Quindle looked puzzled. But if you leave the galaxy, who will maintain order? Who will enforce the new rules? You will, Susan replied. All of you, working together. Humanity will leave representatives here to help, but the day-to-day governance will be in your hands. And if we fail? Asked General Vexcar. Susan's expression became serious. Then we'll come back, and we'll be very disappointed in you. The threat was clear, even though it was delivered quietly. The alien delegates understood that humanity's patience had limits. Colonel Tyler Brooks entered the room with a data pad. Admiral, I have the latest reports from our expansion fleets. We now have colonies in over 50 star systems, and we've made peaceful contact with 12 new species. Any problems? Susan asked. A few minor disputes over territory, but nothing that couldn't be resolved through negotiation, Brooks replied. The new species seem to appreciate that we're not trying to conquer them. Susan nodded with satisfaction. This was exactly what she had hoped for. Instead of conquest, humanity was building friendships. Instead of fear, they were creating cooperation. Admiral Blake, Ambassador Yintel said, I must admit that when humans first appeared, I thought you would be a disaster for galactic civilization. I was wrong. Thank you, Susan replied. But remember, we're still learning. If we make mistakes, we trust that our friends will tell us. As the meeting concluded, the alien delegates signed the new galactic charter. For the first time in galactic history, every species would have a voice in their own government. One last thing, Susan said as the aliens prepared to leave. If any species ever tries to do to others what the Council did to humanity, they will. Answer to us. We will not allow anyone to be caged the way we were. After the aliens left, Susan stood alone in the chamber, looking out at the stars. Humanity had come so far from those early days when they were trapped in their own solar system. Now they were the guardians of galactic freedom, and they were preparing to explore beyond the galaxy itself. Ambassador Chan joined her at the window. Do you think this will work? This new system of government? Susan smiled. It has to work. because the alternative is going back to the old way, where the strong rule the weak through fear. And we've seen where that leads. In the distance, Susan could see human ships preparing for their next great adventure, a journey to the Andromeda Galaxy, where new worlds and new species waited to be discovered. The species that had once been dismissed as primitive, insects, had become the galaxy's protectors and explo.